What happens when the CEO of a tech retail chain goes undercover, and the store manager mocks him to his face? Isaac Nolan looked out the window of his rental car, parked across the street from Store 13, an electronics store on the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona. His reflection in the glass didn't look like a CEO. The scruffy beard, plain polo shirt, and thick-framed glasses were all part of the plan. He even wore an old baseball cap pulled low to hide his sharp features. No one at the store had ever met him. In fact, most of the store-level workers across his 14 locations had never seen his face. That was by design. When he started the company 10 years ago, it was just him selling refurbished laptops out of his garage. Now, it had grown into a full chain of electronics stores across the Southwest. But lately, something had been off. Customer service reviews for Store 13 had plummeted in the last 4 months. Complaints kept stacking up: rude employees, ignored customers, even reports of people being laughed at for asking dumb questions. Isaac had sent the district manager twice, but both times the store cleaned up just enough to pass inspection. Still, the complaints kept coming. So this time, Isaac decided to go in himself. Undercover. He stepped out of the car and pulled his name tag from his pocket. It read Doug. He'd be spending the week as a new hire in training. The corporate office had quietly arranged it. Only the district manager and the HR coordinator knew who he really was. No one else. Inside, the store buzzed with fluorescent lights and the faint hum of computer fans. A tall woman with a sharp chin, tight bun, and a clipboard stood near the front desk. Her name tag read, Wendy Clark, store manager. "You the new guy?" she asked, not even looking up from her clipboard. "Yeah, Doug," Isaac said, holding out his hand. Wendy glanced at his hand, ignored it, and turned. "Follow me." They weaved through the aisles. Isaac noticed a young guy patiently helping an elderly man understand the difference between 2 tablets. Nearby, a woman in a red shirt was restocking printers while quietly humming to herself. But the moment Wendy passed by, the humming stopped. Everyone stiffened. Isaac followed Wendy into the back room. "You'll shadow Micah today," she said, scribbling something on a paper. "Don't get in the way. Just watch, nod, and don't touch anything." "Got it," he said. Wendy paused. "You look like one of those weird YouTube guys who think they know more than the staff. You're not going to try to teach my team anything, right?" Isaac smiled awkwardly. "No, just here to learn." "Good. We don't need any more smartass." She handed him a cheap company polo. "Put this on. And lose the hat. You look like you crawled out of a basement." Isaac took the shirt and stepped into the staff bathroom. Over the next hour, he shadowed Micah, a soft-spoken guy in his 20s with a calm, patient energy. Micah explained things simply to customers and never pushed them to buy the most expensive item, just the right one. Isaac watched closely as a customer, a middle-aged woman, asked about Bluetooth speakers. "Don't worry about the brand," Micah said. "Do you usually play music in one room or different areas?" "Mostly in the kitchen and sometimes the patio." "Then something portable with strong battery life would be better than one of these expensive surround systems." The woman smiled. "Thank you. No one's taken the time to explain it like that." Isaac was impressed. But not everyone had Micah's approach. Later that afternoon, Wendy stood near the entrance, sipping from a coffee cup. A customer, a nervous-looking teenage boy, approached her with a return. "My dad bought this mouse, but it skips all the time," the kid said. Wendy didn't even look at the device. "Did you read the manual? Or do you just expect things to work out of the box now?" The boy looked stunned. I just wanted to exchange it." Wendy sighed loudly. "Fine. Go to register 3. But next time, figure out what you're doing before you come in." Isaac stood nearby, pretending to organize flash drives. His jaw tightened. That night, he sat in his motel room typing notes on his laptop. He rubbed his temples. There was a lot of work to be done here. The next morning, things got worse. A heavy-set man in worn-out clothes walked in, holding a small receipt. "Hi, I bought this phone case yesterday, but it doesn't fit my phone. Can I exchange it?" he asked, holding up the unopened package. Wendy was at the counter again. "Sir, this is for an iPhone. If you don't know what phone you have, maybe don't shop for accessories," she said with a forced laugh. "I just wanted to." "You just wanted someone to hold your hand?" "Sorry, we don't do that here." Isaac stepped forward. "He has the receipt. It's unopened." Wendy turned to him. "Doug, stay in your lane. He's not our problem." Isaac clenched his fists. "I think we should help him." Wendy leaned in. And I think you should shut up before you get yourself fired. That night, Isaac called the district manager. Give me 3 more days, he said. I need to see how deep this goes. He was beginning to realize the problem wasn't just bad customer service, it was a culture of fear. Every good employee he met seemed nervous around Wendy. People avoided eye contact. Breaks were rushed. Smiles vanished when she entered the room. On day 3, as Isaac helped a woman set up a smart speaker, he saw Wendy and another employee, Tara, laughing in the back. Wendy pointed toward him and whispered something. They both burst out laughing. Tara asked loudly, "What's his deal anyway?" Wendy grinned. "I swear, he's like a charity case. Talks like he knows stuff, but he's just another washed-up loser trying to play tech expert. You seen his shoes?" Isaac kept his eyes on the speaker. His hands trembled slightly, but he smiled at the customer. "It'll boot up in just a second." He was done watching. He was going to change everything. The morning started with a shipment. Isaac stood by the receiving dock as a pallet of routers and graphics cards was wheeled in by a delivery driver who looked exhausted and impatient. The warehouse door groaned as it settled shut behind him, trapping the rising heat of the asphalt into the back room. Isaac adjusted the collar of his polo shirt and looked around. A thin, wiry kid with a barcode scanner tapped his clipboard nervously. His name tag said Luis. He looked barely old enough to drive. His hands trembled slightly as he signed off on the delivery. "You all right?" Isaac asked. Luis glanced over his shoulder. "Yeah, just trying to keep pace. Wendy gets pissed if this sits back here too long." Isaac nodded. "You need help unloading?" Luis hesitated. "I'm not supposed to ask. I'm offering." They worked in silence, stacking boxes quietly onto carts. Luis didn't say much, but Isaac noticed him wincing when he bent down. After a few minutes, Isaac asked, "You hurt?" Luis straightened up too quickly and winced again. "Pulled something in my side last week. Happened during a rush. I told her, but she said if I wanted time off, I'd better have a doctor's note and someone to cover my shift. I can't afford to miss hours." Isaac didn't respond right away. He just handed Luis a lighter box and kept working. Inside, the floor was already busy. A line of customers stood by the service counter and 2 of the registers were closed despite the foot traffic. Tara stood by the printer aisle, half-heartedly adjusting display signs. Wendy was nowhere in sight. Micah caught Isaac's eye from across the room and gave a slow nod toward the break room door. Isaac followed his gaze just in time to see Wendy walking out with a half-eaten muffin in her hand and her phone pressed to her ear. She stopped, looked around, then turned and walked back toward the office. Isaac returned to the floor. A man in his 50s with a sun-faded polo and a worn leather belt waved him down. "You work here?" Isaac nodded. "I ordered a hard drive online for pickup. Got the confirmation and everything, but they can't find it." Isaac glanced toward the pickup counter, where a younger employee was nervously sifting through a bin of boxes. "Let me check," Isaac said. He walked over and crouched beside the employee. "What's the name?" "Edgar Lopez. It says it was scanned in yesterday, but it's not here." Isaac looked at the manifest. The item showed received. He opened the bin and started shifting boxes, checking serial numbers and last names. A few moments later, Wendy's voice cut through the air. "Doug, what are you doing?" Isaac stood, trying to help a customer with a missing order. "That's not your job. You're not trained for this. I found his name on the list, but the item isn't in the bin." Wendy walked over, snatched the clipboard out of the other employee's hands, and scanned it. "Nothing we can do. Tell him to call customer service." Isaac raised an eyebrow. "He's standing right there. We can check the back room. We don't have time to babysit every order issue. If it's not in the bin, it's not our problem. The system says it's here." Wendy turned to him sharply. "Did I stutter?" The customer stepped forward. "Ma'am, I drove 40 minutes because your site said it was ready." She didn't even look at him. "Then maybe next time call before you leave." The man's eyebrows drew together. "That's not how pickup works." Wendy turned back to Isaac. "You've got about 2 minutes to stop overstepping, or I'll have you mopping floors until close." Isaac met her eyes. Understood. He didn't push further. Not yet. But the moment she walked away, he made a note to check the inventory logs later. By noon, the atmosphere on the floor had turned heavy. A woman with a baby stroller was standing near the security cameras, clearly unsure where to go. Another associate, Devin, was flipping through a manual behind the counter, looking overwhelmed. No one offered help. Isaac approached him. Need a hand? Devin sighed. She needs a system with a camera for her kids' online classes. I gave her 3 options, but I think I confused her. Isaac walked over, smiled gently at the woman, and asked a few simple questions. What kind of software did the school use? Did she need something portable? Was battery life important? Within 5 minutes, she had a clear winner. She smiled and nodded, gently rocking her stroller. As the woman walked toward the register, Devin leaned in. How'd you do that? Just asked what she needed before telling her what to buy. Devin looked around. Wendy doesn't want us doing that. Says it slows traffic. Isaac's jaw tightened. Helping people is the job. Devin gave a hesitant shrug, like that answer didn't match the world he worked in. Later that afternoon, the tension snapped. A man in a button-down shirt and khakis stood near the laptop display with his teenage daughter. They were clearly trying to compare specs. The daughter was holding a notebook and pointing between 2 models. Tara walked by, chewing gum and tapping on her phone. Excuse me, the man said. Can someone explain the difference between these 2? Tara didn't look up. They're both good, but one's $200 more. Then get the cheaper one. The daughter looked up. Does one have a better graphics card? Tara rolled her eyes. You're not gonna notice the difference. Unless you're building rockets on it, it won't matter. Isaac stepped in. Actually, the more expensive one has a dedicated GPU. Better for video editing or rendering. The cheaper one is fine for school and streaming. The man looked relieved. That's what I was trying to figure out. Thank you. Isaac nodded. Happy to help. Tara walked off without another word. After they left, Micah approached Isaac near the back wall. She's been like that since she got promoted. Wendy gave her lead status last month. Says she knows how to keep people moving. Isaac folded his arms. And no one complains? Micah looked away. People don't stay long enough to complain. That night, Isaac stayed after close. He waited until the last associate left, then knocked on the office door. Wendy, got a second? She was slouched in her chair, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up. What is it? I've got a few questions about how the floor's being run. She groaned. Doug, you're a trainee. You don't get to ask questions. I've seen a lot of customers walk out confused. Some upset. A few even angry. Wendy stood up. If you're not cut out for retail, that's your problem. Not everyone's built to deal with people. I've also seen associates afraid to speak up. Some are hurting themselves trying to keep pace. You're pushing them too hard. She laughed. You sound like one of those HR videos. Let me guess you think everyone deserves a ribbon for showing up. Isaac's voice stayed even. I think people deserve to be treated like they matter. Wendy stepped closer, her tone sharpening. Let me be clear. I've kept this store above target for 5 straight quarters. I've cut turnover, boosted metrics, and cleaned out lazy staff. If that rubs people the wrong way, they're free to work somewhere softer. Isaac didn't respond. He just nodded, turned, and walked out. As he stepped into the parking lot, the desert air hit his face like a furnace. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was the HR coordinator. I'm pulling the trigger tomorrow, Isaac said before she could speak. I've seen enough. He hung up and stared at the neon sign above the store. Tomorrow, he wouldn't be Doug anymore. Isaac arrived early. Before the lights flickered on, before the hum of monitors filled the air, before anyone had clocked in. He stood in the store's entrance, arms crossed, watching the sun creep up behind the strip mall's rooftop. He wasn't wearing the company polo this time. No name tag. No disguise. Just a fitted button-down and dark slacks. The kind of outfit he used to wear when meeting investors or walking into a bank to secure capital for the next expansion. He walked through the automatic doors as they slid open. The first employee to spot him was Micah, who froze halfway through unlocking the laptop display cage. You're here early, he said, trying to sound casual. Isaac gave a nod. I need the staff in the break room before we open. Everyone. Micah hesitated, then set the keys down. Okay. I'll spread the word. By the time the rest of the crew filtered in, there was a quiet tension in the air. Some glanced at the unfamiliar man standing near the fridge, arms folded. Most looked puzzled. Wendy wasn't in yet. The clock on the wall read 7:52. Louis centered last, moving stiffly and holding a folder of shipping documents. He paused when he saw Isaac, then looked at the others for cues. No one spoke. Isaac stepped forward. "My name is Isaac Nolan," he said. "I'm the founder and CEO of Nolan Tech Retail Group." No one moved. The room felt still, like the air had thickened. Luis blinked slowly. Devin stared at the floor. Tara's mouth opened just slightly, then closed again. Micah didn't react, but his fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. Isaac let the silence sit for another second. "I've spent the last 4 days working in this store under the name Doug. I've seen how things are run here. I've watched how customers are treated, how employees are managed. And I'm not here to talk about numbers or productivity. I'm here because people are being hurt." Still, no one spoke. "Some of you showed real care for customers. You listened. You adapted. You stepped up when no one was watching. That matters. That's why this company exists in the first place." He turned slightly toward Micah. "Micah, you've got a gift for making things clear without making people feel small. That's rare. You should be training others, not being ignored." Micah's face flushed, but he said nothing. Isaac looked at Luis. "You've been pushing through pain just to avoid losing hours. That's not something I want anyone doing for this company. We'll make sure you get medical support and the time you need." Luis looked like he wanted to respond, but his lips just pressed into a tight line. Devin shifted in the corner, glancing toward the hallway. "She's not in yet," he said quietly. Isaac nodded. "She will be." Wendy arrived at 8:15. Her keys jingled as she unlocked the front door and stepped inside. Sunglasses still on, phone in one hand. She didn't notice the group in the break room until she rounded the corner. "Why aren't we opening?" she asked. "It's past 8. She froze when she saw Isaac. "What's going on?" She looked around the room. "Why's everyone just standing here?" Isaac straightened. "You're late." Wendy's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? I said you're late. And this meeting started at 8. Her face changed, but only slightly. She tucked her sunglasses into her shirt collar and gave a confused laugh. "Okay. And who exactly are you?" "I'm the person who signs the checks. And I've been working under you all week." She looked at the others, her expression sliding from confusion to something colder. "This is a joke, right?" Isaac stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "You've mocked customers in front of staff. You've ignored injuries. You've created an environment where people are afraid to speak. Your leadership has driven away talent and pushed away business." Wendy looked at the others again, trying to find someone who would speak. No one did. "This is absurd," she said, taking a step back. "You think you can just show up and humiliate me in front of the staff?" "No," Isaac said. "I didn't come here to humiliate you. I came to see if there was anything worth saving." "But you made it clear." She dropped the phone into her bag with a sharp motion. "I run the top-performing store in the district. Highest net margin 3 quarters running. I've cut costs, cut waste, and delivered results. You're going to punish that?" "I'm not punishing performance. I'm holding you accountable for how that performance was achieved. You've built fear, not loyalty. You've created compliance, not trust. And you've lost the one thing we can't fake: respect from the people on this floor." She scoffed. "They're retail workers. Half of them are part-time kids who'll be gone in 6 months." Micah stepped forward. "You don't get to talk about us like that anymore," he said quietly. Wendy turned to him, her voice rising. "You think you're better than this job? You think you're owed something because you smile at customers?" Isaac shook his head. "That's enough." She turned back to him. "You're making a mistake." Isaac's voice was steady. "No. I made the mistake of trusting that the culture I built would carry on without being watched. I let numbers blind me to what was happening here. That ends today." He pulled a folded envelope from his pocket and handed it to her. "Your employment is terminated, effective immediately. Security access will be disabled by noon and your final check will be deposited Friday. HR will be in touch." She stared at it without taking it. "You'll regret this," she said. Isaac didn't flinch. "I already regret letting it go on this long." She looked around the room again, waiting for anyone to speak in her defense. No one did. She finally grabbed the envelope and turned without another word. Her footsteps echoed down the hall. Once the door closed behind her, no one spoke for a moment. Isaac exhaled slowly. He looked at the staff. "I know that doesn't fix what's been broken here, but it's a start. I'll be working with HR to rebuild the store's leadership from the ground up. In the meantime, Micah will serve as interim floor lead. Any questions or concerns come directly to him or me. He paused, scanning each face. This place will become something you want to be a part of again. That's a promise. Devin raised a hand slightly. So, are we still opening today? Isaac smiled for the first time that morning. Yes, but not until we've had some proper coffee and a real conversation about what you need to do your jobs better. Luis looked over. You mean like, all of us? Together? Isaac nodded. Exactly that. Micah stepped forward, pulling out a chair from the corner. Well, he said, then we've got a lot to talk about. Micah stood beside Isaac in the quiet conference room above the sales floor, a space that had rarely been used for much more than storing outdated training binders and old promotional banners. Now it smelled faintly of fresh paper and brewed coffee. Micah flipped through a notepad, glancing at the scribbled ideas collected from the morning discussion with the team. So, Devin wants to cross-train in repairs, he said, running his finger down the page. Tara asked to be moved off customer interactions. Said she's better with logistics and inventory. And Luis mentioned bringing in a temp to help with freight while he's out. Isaac leaned back in the chair, nodding once. Start lining up interviews for the temp. They want to know who the new manager's going to be. I'm not rushing that. First, we rebuild the structure. Then we bring someone in who fits it. Micah hesitated. You thinking internal? Only if they've got the spine and the judgment. I'd rather take longer and get it right. Micah closed the notepad slowly. You sure about me leading the floor for now? Isaac looked over at him. You've already been doing it, just without the title. In the days following Wendy's departure, Isaac made a point of being physically present. Not hovering, just visible. He greeted customers, helped restock shelves, and sat in on training refreshers. At no point did he issue sweeping speeches or try to win anyone over with promises. He made space for the team to speak plainly and took notes when they did. That Thursday, Tara approached him near the loading dock, clipboard in hand. She kept her voice low. There's a vendor rep who comes by every month. She's always bringing demo models and setting up displays. Wendy used to resell the extras under the table. Told us not to log them. Isaac didn't look surprised. Name? Tara handed him a slip of paper. I figured you'd want it. He folded the note and tucked it into his pocket. Thanks for telling me. I didn't know what to do before, she said, eyes fixed on the concrete floor. I didn't want to be the reason someone got fired. You weren't. But you might end up being the reason we don't repeat the same mistakes. The following afternoon, Isaac watched as Devin walked a customer through a return. Not just the transaction, but the entire reasoning behind store credit policies, restocking fees, and comparable alternatives. The elderly man left with a working replacement and a thank you card for a niece he mentioned during the interaction. Later, Isaac approached Devin near the accessories wall. You've got a strong presence when you're explaining things. Clear, but not patronizing. Devin raised an eyebrow. I used to tutor adults getting their GEDs. You learn quick that tone matters more than content. You ever thought about training new hires? Didn't think I was senior enough to be teaching. Isaac nodded. Start drafting a shadowing guide. I want your voice in it. By the end of the week, the rhythm of the store had changed. It wasn't perfect, there were still long lines some afternoons, and the printer section was always a mess by closing, but the energy felt different. Customers lingered longer. Associates didn't scatter when a question came their way. One evening, as the last register shut down, Luis approached Isaac near the customer pickup shelf. Got a call from HR, he said. They approved the light duty schedule. Isaac turned from the screen he was reviewing. That's good. You'll still get your hours. Yeah. And they're bringing in someone to cover the unloading. Just temporary. But still. You planning to come back to freight full-time after? Luis shrugged. Honestly, I'd rather move to tech support. I've been picking up stuff from Micah. Helped a lady reset her tablet today. Felt good. Isaac glanced at the toolset Luis had been using. Put in a request for tech cross-training. Let's see where it goes. Luis smiled faintly. Didn't think I'd be saying that a week ago. Neither did I, Isaac said, tapping the screen off. That weekend, Isaac held a closed-door meeting with the district manager and HR. He laid out what he'd seen firsthand, what he expected moving forward, and which locations needed closer scrutiny. He'd already pulled 2 more sets of customer reviews and flagged a second store for follow-up. The district manager leaned forward. You planning to go undercover again? Not immediately, but I'll be showing up unannounced. Front door, side door, doesn't matter. We'll get pushback, the HR rep warned. Managers don't like being second-guessed. They should be more worried about being disconnected. By Monday, Store 13 had a new bulletin board in the break room, this one filled not with reminders about clock-in procedures or sales goals, but with feedback slips from customers and staff. A dry erase column titled, What's Not Working, sat beside one labeled, What Helped Today? Associates wrote in both daily. No one asked permission. Isaac kept his visits shorter now. He stopped by 2 or 3 times a week, always at different hours. Sometimes he stayed just long enough to ask how the morning rush went. Other times, he joined Micah during shift prep to review coverage plans. He didn't hover. He checked the pulse, made notes, and stepped back. One afternoon, as he was finishing a call in the parking lot, he noticed a familiar car idling at the curb. Wendy stepped out, leaned against the hood, and lit a cigarette. He didn't move at first. Then he walked over, stopping a few feet away. There a reason you're here? She exhaled slowly. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Place looks cleaner. He didn't answer. She tilted her head. You think they'll keep it up? They already are. She looked at him, eyes scanning for a crack in his expression. You're lucky I didn't fight it. I could have made this ugly. You already did. She flicked ash onto the pavement. They'll get comfortable. Give it 6 months. He didn't respond. She looked away. You should have called me into your office. Given me a chance to explain. You explained everything the moment you mocked one of my customers. She ground the cigarette into the curb with her heel, then got back in the car without another word. Isaac stayed there a while, watching the taillights disappear. When he finally turned back toward the store, he found Micah standing just inside the glass doors, a clipboard in hand and a puzzled look on his face. Everything all right? Micah asked once Isaac stepped inside. Fine. Just someone checking the rear view. Micah nodded once, then lifted the clipboard. Inventory's off by 2 units in mobile accessories. Tara's already tracing it. Let me know if you can't reconcile it by end of day. Copy that. As Isaac walked toward the back office, he passed Devin reconfiguring a display with another associate. They were laughing quietly about something. He didn't catch the joke, but it didn't matter. The sound was new. Unforced. In the back room, Isaac sat at the desk, opened his laptop, and began typing. Not a report. Not a memo. Just notes. He titled the page, What I Missed. And then he wrote, line by line, what it took to see clearly again. The front counter printer jammed again, and Devin was elbow-deep behind it, trying to clear the misfed paper without tearing it. The customer waiting at the register looked more amused than annoyed, tapping his wallet against his thigh in a slow rhythm. Isaac was standing just a few feet away with a clipboard, reviewing the new weekend staffing grid. Try lifting the tray from the left side. The hinge is loose, Isaac said, not looking up. Devin gave it a gentle tug, and the paper popped free with a dry crinkle. That's the 3rd time this week, Devin muttered. I've been meaning to flag it. Order a replacement, Isaac said, flipping the page. Don't wait for something to break mid-rush. The customer gave a nod of thanks as he took his receipt and left. Devin exhaled and leaned on the counter, rubbing his temple. You ever think about how many little things go wrong in a day? He said. Like, not big enough to stop anything. Just constant friction. Isaac looked at him. Every system has friction. The question is whether it builds up or gets dealt with. Across the store, Micah was walking a new hire through the laptop section. The kid looked eager but overwhelmed, glancing between models like he was trying to memorize a foreign language. Micah kept his hands behind his back, letting the trainee handle the interaction on his own. He only stepped in when the customer asked about storage speeds. Isaac watched for a few seconds, then turned back to Devin. You still taking notes for that training guide? Devin tapped the counter. Got a rough draft. Needs organizing. I've never written anything like this before. Not sure it's even useful. Send it to me anyway, Isaac said. Use real language. No textbook phrases. If it sounds like something you'd actually say to someone on their first day, it's useful. Devin gave a small nod, then turned to clean the counter with a dry cloth. He didn't say anything else. Isaac walked toward the back, passing the display wall where Tara had relabeled the surge protectors. The layout was cleaner now, with high-usage items moved to eye level and the bulkier boxes shifted lower. She was crouched near the bottom shelf, aligning boxes. "You handled the vendor inventory issue?" Isaac asked quietly. Tara nodded without looking up. "Flagged the rep. Cancelled the next drop. The district office confirmed the serials were never logged in the system." "Anything missing?" "For demo routers, 2 headsets. Might have been sold off. No way to trace them now." Isaac crouched beside her, resting his forearm on his knee. "You want to move into operations permanently?" She turned her head slightly. "I thought this was temporary. You've cleaned up 6 categories in 2 weeks. Staff said you caught 3 pricing errors before they hit the floor. You've got an instinct for systems." "I don't want that buried under register work." Tara sat back on her heels. "I don't mind the floor. But yeah, I'd rather be doing this full time. Then we'll make it official. You'll report to the new manager once they come in, but you'll own logistics." She didn't smile, but he could see the tension leave her shoulders. As he stood, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the notification. It was from the district office. An internal candidate had been flagged for the store manager role. Isaac walked toward the break room, stepping around a half-unpacked delivery cart. Inside, Micah was at the small table reviewing a product brochure with the trainee. The kid had his hands on a pair of sample headphones, nodding along as Micah explained the difference in drivers and impedance ratings. Isaac waited until the trainee left to stock shelves before stepping forward. "You ever thought about applying for the manager role?" he asked. Micah looked up surprised. "I figured you'd want someone with more background. I've never run a full store." "You've already been running the people. That's the harder part." Micah leaned back, arms crossed. "I don't want to end up like the last one." "You won't," Isaac said. "You don't use fear. You listen. You adjust." Micah looked out the window at the sales floor. "I'd need someone to take point on schedules. I'm not great with optimizing coverage. Tara's got a handle on logistics. Devin's building training. You'd be leading, not doing everything alone." Micah nodded slowly. "I'll think about it." "No pressure," Isaac said. "But let me know before the end of the week." That evening, as the store wound down, Isaac sat in the back office reviewing the regional performance reports. Store 13 was showing a slow but steady uptick, not in gross revenue, but in repeat visits and service satisfaction. The number of online reviews had actually dropped, but the ones that did come in were detailed and personal. Customers were naming employees in their comments, calling out helpful moments. He reached for his notebook and jotted down 3 words: depth over volume. There was a knock at the door. Luis stepped in, holding a small plastic bag. "Found that mis-scanned return from last week," he said, setting the bag on the desk. "It got shelved in the wrong bin." Isaac nodded. "Thanks for following up." Luis lingered for a moment. "That tech cross-training request still good?" "Approved. Mike is building a schedule." Luis looked relieved. "I've been studying after hours. Watching repair videos, reading teardown guides. Just make sure you take time off too," Isaac said. "Don't burn out trying to prove something." Luis gave a quick nod, then stepped out. Later that night, Isaac walked the sales floor alone. The lights were dimmed and the soft hum of the air conditioning filled the silence. He stopped near the customer service desk, running his fingers along the top of the counter. There were no banners with his face in the store. No posters of core values or corporate slogans. Just a small suggestion box near the door, now half full with folded slips. He opened one at random. "Micah helped me find a tablet for my mom. He asked questions no one else had and didn't make me feel dumb. Thank you." He folded it shut and slid it back. Outside, the parking lot was nearly empty. He stood at the glass doors, watching the last few cars pull away from the neighboring shops. The neon sign above flickered faintly, then steadied. He didn't need to be here every day, but he would keep showing up quietly just often enough. Not to watch, to stay connected, and to make sure no one ever had to speak up alone again.